morning, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to another video. I hope you've been keeping very well and you're having a gorgeous week so far. I'm going to be bringing you along for the next few days and showing you what I eat over these few days, but the focus is going to be on making budget-friendly meals over these few days. How many times did I just say few days in like one sentence? Anyway, yes, we're going to be focusing on budget-friendly meals, and I know a lot of you have been enjoying this style of content. If you're new here and this is the first video you're seeing, I will leave similar videos linked down in the description box if you do want to check them out. But first things first, we need to get into making some breakfast this morning. I'm going to make some 3-ingredient vegan pancakes this morning with some oats, banana, and some soy milk. Of course, there will end up being extra ingredients because I'm going to put toppings on there, so not quite 3 ingredients, but you get what I mean. These are actually something that I've eaten over my almost decade of being a vegan because they're so quick and easy to make, minimal ingredients, and they are pretty whole food based as well, so they're a good way to start the day. But yeah, let's just get into making them. I love starting my day with pancakes. So to make these pancakes, I start by adding some rolled oats into a food processor, and I'm gonna blitz this into a fine crumb flour kind of texture. Of course, if you have some oat flour on hand, you can substitute and use that instead. Then I added in a banana as well as some soy milk, and I blitzed this together until we got a nice smooth pancake batter. I'll leave the recipe that I followed for this one down in the description box below if you do want to try it out at home. Honestly, I really recommend it. I found the texture of these to be really great. They fried up super easily and they had such a natural sweetness from the banana in the batter as well. I also like that you can really mix it up with the flavors if you would like to with things that you have on hand. And for breakfast this morning, I just had some soy yogurt and some fresh berries that I still had in the fridge that I decided to enjoy with this one. And yeah, it was super delicious. They were fluffy and a great way to start the day. Moving on to lunch, and I find this lunch to be a really good one to use up veggies that you have on hand that you're wanting to get rid of. You know, those veggies that have been sitting at the bottom of the vegetable drawer and you know that you need to do something with them. That's this kind of recipe. It's a good one to use up things like that. Anyway, I start by frying up some onion as well as some cherry tomatoes, and I'm frying this up for a few minutes until the cherry tomatoes get nice and soft. I also then add in some chopped broccoli because that is what I personally had on hand to use up, and also is quite affordable here in Australia at the moment. Pasta is always such a good budget-friendly staple to have on hand, and I put some of that on to cook as per the packet instructions. Once it was done, I added it in with those fried veggies, and then I've got this delicious basil pesto that is a vegan pesto you can get from the supermarket here in Australia. This is such an affordable product. A little goes a long way. It can be easily watered down, and I just highly recommend it. If you're someone that shops at Coles, definitely check this product out. I added a little bit of pasta water in with the pesto to this, reduced it to a low heat, and then continued frying it up, mixing that pesto through with the veggies. Then it was time to plate, and this also made a couple of servings, which was great because I could enjoy this, and then I had some left over for my boyfriend to be able to enjoy as well, and it was really packed full of flavor, which is also a win. So I want to say a big thank you to my friends at Squarespace for very kindly sponsoring this video. If you're looking to host or design your own website, I genuinely recommend checking out Squarespace and giving it a try. I decided to give it a go over 5 years ago now, and I have never looked back. It's such an easy and versatile platform to use and a great way to be able to market and grow your business. The versatility of Squarespace is the reason why I've recommended it to so many different people in my life who work in different industries, and that's because it is a platform that can work for such a range of people and businesses. Whether you're looking to do food blogging like me, you're someone who's looking to sell products or start email campaigns and newsletters, or have a space to show your photography and videography in one place, there is just so much you can do with Squarespace, and it allows your business to be able to grow and evolve into other areas as well, because there is such a wide variety of things that you can do with your website using Squarespace. If you're ever looking to host or design your own website, I definitely recommend checking it out. You can head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, you can go to squarespace.com/AmandaDux, and you can use my code, which is AmandaDux, and it will get you 10% off your first purchase. of a website or a domain. I'm gonna chill out for the arvo now, do a bit of editing, catch up with you when it's time to make dinner. I got myself some phyllo pastry and some butter beans, and I'm gonna make one of my favorite creamy butter bean pie recipes that I love so much, and I'm really excited to eat it for dinner tonight, but also to share it with you this evening. Honestly, I think that this recipe is also one of those ones that is really versatile, and you can use what veggies are in season, affordable, or ones that you have on hand, and also works great with frozen veggies as well. So definitely keep that in mind as you're watching and thinking about trying this out at home. I started this by cutting up some leek as well as some broccoli, as that's what I am going to be using in this creamy pie that I'm making. And then into a pan, I add some vegan butter as well as some plain flour, and I'm going to whisk that together until it's relatively nice and smooth before adding in the leek, which I had washed, as well as the broccoli, and continuing to fry that up for a few minutes. I'm also adding in some canned corn as well as some butter beans. The butter beans are going to give us that plant-based protein that's also really affordable at the supermarket. And I'm then going to also add in some soy milk as well as some veggie stock powder, and begin mixing this all together and cooking it until it begins to thicken. I highly recommend veggie stock as a pantry staple. It's something that can add so much flavor with just a teaspoon, and I find it really good to have on hand when I want to cook really simply but still want it to be tasting really delicious. So definitely keep that in mind. And after about 10 minutes, once this had all thickened up, I'm then transferring it into a baking dish. You want it to be relatively deep because then we're going to add some pastry on top here, and you want to just give it room to be able to cook. So you can either use phyllo pastry or puff pastry, again whatever you have on hand or is within budget for you. I just put this on top, drizzle with a little bit of oil, and then put it into the oven to bake. Once it comes out, you're going to see you have this gorgeous crispy top. This made 4 servings, which again is so wonderful. And I also find that cooking on a budget and meal prepping can kind of go hand in hand in that way. But I really enjoyed a serving of this simple creamy pot pie for dinner, that is for sure. So after a delicious start to the day, we're getting into even more delicious food for lunch, and we're starting with the glorious firm tofu. If you'd have told me a few years ago that I would be saying that, I would honestly be laughing in your face, but tofu has become such a staple in my diet and I love cooking it this way. I mix some vegan chicken stock powder and some corn flour with this tofu that I have teared up into pieces. I find this is a really good way to soak up the flavor, and then I'm going to fry this in my frying pan with a little bit of oil until it becomes nice and crispy. Honestly, corn flour is such a good ingredient to add texture, especially to your plant-based protein, and I highly recommend it as a pantry staple. Once this tofu had crisped up, I added in some soy sauce as well as some lime juice and a little bit of sugar as well, and I am going to fry this up until the sauce thickens up a little bit and we get this really gorgeous, well-coated, well-flavored tofu. Whilst that's frying up, I am cutting up some broccoli. Broccoli is really affordable here in Australia at the moment, honestly, is a part of the reason why it's such a staple for me. And it's also really versatile. You can honestly have it in a lot of different dishes and cuisines, which I absolutely love. I added this broccoli in with the tofu and fried it up for another like 3 to 4 minutes until it was lightly crispy. And whilst that was happening, I also put some noodles on to boil. honestly, rice is also a really good staple to have with this meal if that's what you have on hand. But I love noodles so much at the moment, and I find them so quick and easy to cook, which is why I do love them so much. And yeah, that's it when it comes to this meal. I just fry up the noodles with the tofu and the broccoli and the sauce, and we have this really delicious, quick, easy, budget-friendly meal that also makes me feel very, very good. So I have been eyeing off this recipe that I keep seeing on Instagram for a 3-ingredient chocolate, peanut butter and berry fudge, and I've been really keen to try it out, and I thought that I would give it a go today. I love an afternoon sweet treat. I know a lot of you do as well, but it's definitely something that adds up really quickly if you're having one every single day and getting store-bought treats, which, like, personally, I would love to eat a Loco Love every single day of my life, but it is not within the budget. And the reason I was thinking of this recipe when I was thinking about what sweet treat I wanted to make today is because it only has 3 ingredients. And so I think the good thing with minimal ingredient recipes when you are eating on a budget is the fact that you A, might already have some of those on hand, and B, especially if you're on like more of a short-term budget and you just want to make something to get through the week, you might only need to buy a couple of ingredients from the store. And I definitely think that's something to consider when you are eating on a budget and things like that, because everyone has different budgets and things that they are working with. This fudge, for example, isn't like the most budget-friendly sweet treat that you are ever going to make. There are going to be other options, but when it comes to buying the ingredients for this fudge and making it, it might be a situation of not needing to go to the supermarket, or perhaps only needing to grab one thing and then being able to make a sweet treat for the week. So I hope that makes sense when it comes to eating on a budget. I think it is one of those things where working with what you have in the home is a really great way to do it, but as well as that, working with what works for you. Like, some people can go out and buy a whole bunch of bulk things in order to keep the cost down and get them through the month, but some people are working with, you know, day to day or week to week, and that's something to consider as well. But it might just be 1 or 2 ingredients that someone can afford for that day, and that's why I think minimal ingredient recipes can be really good for eating on a budget as well. Anyway, let's get into making the fudge. I am really excited and also super lucky because I had all the ingredients on hand to make it today. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm starting by adding some smooth peanut butter into my mixing bowl, noting that you could definitely sub for another nut butter or even some tahini. If you are into tahini, I think it would go really well here. I'm then adding in that gorgeous melted chocolate, and I'm whisking it together until we get this very gorgeous texture. Now, my berry of choice or fruit of choice for this is some strawberries, which I had on hand, and then I am going to put some baking paper into the bottom of a little glass container, spread out those strawberries, and then I'm going to pour over this mixture. Again, you could sub for some different fruit here if you would like to. It's whatever is your taste, and honestly, whatever you have on hand. And then flipping this over so we have the berries at the top, and we're going to cut this into some little fudge pieces and enjoy this very much so. I have to say, I enjoyed this all throughout the week, and it was absolutely delicious. Such a nice sweet treat to be able to enjoy, and yeah, I definitely recommend giving it a go. Now, when it came to dinner, I was really excited because I am in my focaccia making era at the moment, or I should say I'm getting into my focaccia making era, and I decided to try out this recipe, which was like an hour focaccia recipe that turned out so well. I'm going to leave it linked down below if you do want to check it out, because I know that like making your own breads is great when it comes to like eating on a budget and things like that. It's definitely an affordable way to be able to eat, and you can make breads which are like really substantial and nice and calorie dense and keep you nourished for a long time, which I really enjoy about them. But of course, you don't want to be spending like lots of hours in the kitchen if you're time poor or if you're in a bit of a rush and things like that. And so that's why I really wanted to try out this recipe, and honestly I can vouch for it because it turned out so well. So I'll leave it linked down below if you do want to check it out. If you haven't made your own focaccia before, I honestly highly recommend it. This was one of the easiest types of breads that I have ever made. I really enjoyed doing so, and it was also ridiculously delicious and a great accompaniment to the rest of the dinner that I I was making. And so whilst I put this focaccia into the oven to bake, I got into making the rest of said dinner. So I'm starting with some cherry tomatoes. I cut these all into halves, and then I'm transferring these onto a baking tray, drizzling with some oil, salt and pepper, as well as some sugar, and spreading them all out before putting them into the oven to make some delicious roast cherry tomatoes. Then into a little saucepan, I'm adding some oil as well as some sliced brown onions and frying that up for a few minutes before adding in some Italian herbs as well as some garlic and continuing to fry it up. Then I'm adding in some tomato paste, again continuing to fry up, as well as adding in some tinned tomatoes here, and then some water to thin it out. Of course, I'm adding in some veggie stock powder, and it may be coming together what we're making here, but we're making essentially a butter bean and roasted cherry tomato soup kind of situation. It's so ridiculously good, packs so much flavor, and the butter beans are a great source of plant-based protein that again is awesome when you're eating on a budget. So I very simply served up this butter bean and cherry tomato soup. Then I cut up this gorgeous focaccia that turned out so well and served it on the side, and my boyfriend and I enjoyed this so much for dinner. We were dipping that bread into that soup, and it was so warming, so hearty, so nourishing. Everything you want in a dinner. Good morning and happy Thursday. I am about to get into making some breakfast, and breakfast this morning is inspired by one of my favorite YouTubers. Her name is Julia Mayton. She's an amazing vegan foodie YouTuber. I love her videos and I love her recipes, and I have been eyeing off these cornflake jars that she has made for quite a while. And then when I was at the grocery store this week, knowing that I wanted to share some budget friendly meals with you, I thought I actually think these cornflake jars are pretty budget friendly, and they definitely are. So I'm so excited to make one today and to try it and enjoy it, I'm sure, because it looks absolutely incredible. So that's what we're going to be making for breakfast today. I will leave Julia's channel link down below if you do want to check it out. I definitely recommend it, like if you're looking for some vegan food inspo. She's super creative, and yeah, someone that I personally enjoy watching so very much. So yeah, that's down below, but let's get into making breakfast. I'm so excited. Like, I'm not joking when I tell you I have been wanting to try making these for so long, and I can't believe that it's taken me this long to do so. So yeah, I was about to say let's get into the kitchen and start cooking, but we're already in the kitchen, so let's just start cooking. Wow, that is literally amazing. So when it came to lunch, it was time to make a classic staple budget-friendly meal that I've been loving for a very, very long time, honestly almost a decade. Into a frying pan, I add in some oil as well as some diced onions, and I fry that up for a few minutes. Then I'm going to add in some taco seasoning. You can get packets of this taco seasoning in Australia for like $1.50, and it packs so much flavor. You really don't need a lot of it to get a lot of flavor out of it, which I love. I also add in some tinned tomatoes and continue frying that up before adding in some red kidney beans as well as some salt and some pepper, and continuing to fry on a low to medium heat, allowing the beans to soak up all of that delicious flavor. Then I had some avocado on hand. Now avocado, you know, sometimes it's affordable, sometimes it's not affordable. Personally, I don't like spending $3.50 on an avocado, so I tend to buy them when they're about $1, $1.50 for an avocado. Anyway, avo, lime, salt and pepper is what I added in here, and I mashed it all together, and it may be coming together what we are making, which is going to be some really simple vegan nachos. What I love about this is, once again, the versatility. You can really mix it up. Beans are really affordable to be able to cook with and to have on hand, and then if avocado is affordable, it's something you can add on top. You can also add a plant-based sour cream or a cashew cream or a fresh salsa or whatever you have on hand. It's a really simple and nourishing lunch that you can whip together in like half an hour, and that's what I love so much about it. Okay, so I have 2 things to say. Actually, maybe I have 3 things to say. First thing is, it's literally just started raining as I started filming. It's pretty light now. Hopefully it doesn't get too loud because it tends to get loud quickly, but we'll see how we go. Second thing is, I have changed into my comfies because I guess this relates to the third thing. I feel so tired after work today. I feel like maybe you can relate if you're someone who sits and stares at a computer a lot of the time, but when I sit and edit like all day, sometimes I just feel like this tiredness from my eyes for the rest of the day. And so as soon as I finished the editing that I needed to do today, I was like, okay, comfy clothes on, let's get into making some dinner. And I'm honestly really excited for what I'm going to cook tonight. I'm going to do some of my lentil sausage rolls. I'm actually going to make like 3 or 4 so that we can enjoy them over the next few days. But lentil sausage rolls are one of my favorite go-to budget-friendly delicious vegan meals, also great for meal prep. Honestly, I feel like you can't go wrong with them. They are something that I have been making since I first became vegan almost 10 years ago, and I'm still not sick of them. So I think that kind of sets the tone for how much I enjoy them. And like I said, I am going to prep about 3 or 4 of these because when I do make sausage rolls like this, I do just like to take the time to make a little bit extra so that then I have a quick grab and go, honestly, breakfast, lunch or dinner for the next few days. And you can also freeze them as well if that works for you. I feel like my energy is honestly all over the place right now, so let's just get into the cooking. I am also going to make a little side salad to go with the lentil sausage roll for dinner, and yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, I'm feeling hungry right now, and I am really keen on one of my honestly classic favorite meals for dinner tonight. Okay, so for these, I'm starting by slicing and then dicing a brown onion, and then I'm going to transfer this into a frying pan with a little bit of olive oil. I am starting to fry that up until they begin to get a little bit golden, before I'm then adding in some Italian herbs, some smoked paprika and some crushed garlic, and continuing to fry this all up. Then I am going to add in some tomato paste as well as some water to thin this out a little bit, some vegan beef stock powder, and then I'm mixing this all together. Meanwhile, I've drained and rinsed some brown lentils, and I'm going to mash these with my hand to get that more meaty texture. You can skip this step if you don't want to do this, that's totally fine. I just prefer doing it for the texture of it all, and I add this in with that sauce that I've just made and mix it all together, allowing the lentils to soak up that flavor. Then I'm moving on to working with some puff pastry that I had been defrosting, and we're very simply going to fill this with this lentil mixture. So I'm going to use 2 sheets of puff pastry in total. I fill them up, roll them over, cut them in half, and then transfer to a baking sheet with some baking paper on. I'm going to drizzle it with some oil and top with some sesame seeds before putting this into the oven to bake. Once again, you can really mix it up here if you want to put different toppings on and things like that, and you can mix up the size that you would like to make these sausage rolls. Now I'm making a really quick side salad with some ingredients that I had on hand. So I'm slicing up some cherry tomatoes, some red onion, as well as some cucumber, and then I had some fresh lettuce. So I added these into a bowl with a little bit of olive oil and some lemon juice, some salt and some pepper, and I just toss this together. Once the sausage rolls are done, they will be really nice and golden and crispy, and this works perfectly as a dinner where you can just serve with the pastry, some fresh salad, a little bit of sauce on the side of course, and you have a really simple yet nourishing dinner. I honestly think this is the perfect dinner for a cozy night in, and I'm so excited to dig into it. And this also brings us to the end of what I eat in a few days as a vegan, eating some budget-friendly meals. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some new vegan budget-friendly meals to try out at home. As always, a big thank you for being here, supporting me and my channel. I appreciate it and you so very much. Wishing you a beautiful day ahead, and I will see you next week in another video. Bye!